Warning, this video covers heavy topics like self-abuse, negative thoughts, and childhood trauma. Please watch with discretion. Be safe, sunflowers. See these thoughts? See these little bitty thoughts? This is how I feel about them. Nothing. They are nothing. Hey sunflowers, welcome to BPDsquared, the channel where we discuss mental health, personal growth, and how to become our best selves. My name is Brenda, and I'm so glad you're here. In the last video, we discussed self-love and the journey that I went on to find it. As I said then, and I'll say it again, this is not easy. This is something that I work on consistently, day by day, minute by minute. Some days are still harder than others, because I still find myself having doubts about myself and my abilities. Like sometimes I feel stuck, like I don't have any real moves to make or any real goals that I need to accomplish. And in some days it takes everything in me not to go back into what I like to call
the dark period.
The dark period to me is the time when you're at your absolute lowest, be it vibrationally, physically, mentally, whatever. In my experience, it's the time when life no longer makes sense and my existence causes more harm than good. I believe that whatever I try will fail, that I'm not pretty enough, that I'm not smart enough, that I'm too fat, I'm too old, I'm too broke. All of these negative thoughts come from a specific place. As children, we're raised with certain ideals, certain values, certain principles. Whether it was religion, the school system, or whatever mom and dad told us was okay, we base our lives around these principles, around these things that we are taught, mainly because we want to be accepted by society. We want to show how good we are as humans. We are also taught as children the reward system. Do something good, you get something good, you get a reward. Do something bad, you get a punishment. Good and bad are relative to the subject at hand, but we are conditioned to go through life with this specific type of system. The Four Agreements calls this system auto-domestication. Humans are the only species that will self-punish for any mistakes that we make, and repetitively. So according to the Four Agreements, during the process of domestication, we form an image of what perfection is in order to be accepted by everybody. We especially try to please the ones who love us, like mom and dad, big brother, big sister, religious leaders, and the teacher. Trying to be good for them, we create an image of perfection, but we don't fit this image. We create this image, but this image is not real. We are never going to be perfect from this point of view. This idea of perfection comes from us trying to fit ourselves into this spectrum of what other people expect from us. When we fall short of their expectations, we feel rejected. And then when we feel rejected by them, we in turn start to reject ourselves. Not being perfect, we reject ourselves. And the level of self-rejection depends on how effective the adults were in breaking our integrity. After domestication, it is no longer about being good enough for anybody else. We're not good enough for ourselves because we don't fit with our own image of perfection. We cannot forgive ourselves for not being what we wish to be, or rather, what we believe we should be. We cannot forgive ourselves for not being perfect. There have been so many times I would beat myself up over making a mistake or for lacking knowledge in a specific area. Not doing something the right way would make me feel insignificant and just unworthy, flat out useless, basically. The book goes on to say that no one can abuse you more than you abuse yourself. We allow the same amount of abuse from others that we do to ourselves. If someone else exceeds our personal level of abuse, that's something that we can walk away from. But if that person or that situation tends to meet our level of abuse or is even less than the level of abuse we give to ourselves, then we tolerate it because we feel, one, that's what we deserve, and two, it's familiar to us. I mentioned in the last video my husband having to take a knife out of my hands. And to be honest, I can't even count the number of times that he's had to hide sharp objects from me just so I wouldn't hurt myself, and the time it took for me to get well enough to use them again. In that dark place, in that dark period, I was in a pain that I honestly have a hard time describing. It's a physical pain you can detect, and it's a mental pain you can't measure. Most of the time I would only feel relief when I would myself. All of the pain that surrounded my body was now concentrated into this one small area. And even if it was just for a little while, I felt free. But we already know that doesn't work for long. It's a temporary solution, and I use the word temporary very loosely here, to a much bigger problem. See, the way the universe works, everything has an equal and an opposite to it. Where chaos is, peace must also be. Where there is darkness, there must also be light. These things cannot exist without the other. So I had to get to a point where I wanted the light more than I wanted to be in the dark. One of the first things I did was start talking about it. Up until now, I would just live in my head because I didn't want to share my thoughts with anyone, because I didn't want to be a burden to anyone. I didn't want to be bringing anybody down, and I definitely didn't want anybody to be feeling sorry for me. But gratefully, I had access to a therapist, and I did have people that were close to me that I actually were able to reach out to talk, and they were willing to listen. And I'm aware that a lot of the times the main reason, the main concern at least, is not always to just have somebody listen. Most of the time, most of us don't want to say what's going on in our heads out loud, because to say it out loud makes it real. And when it makes it real, then it just brings about so many different feelings and emotions and sensations. And that can be very overwhelming, but at the same time, it's a really good thing. Allow yourself to go through those emotions. It's a really good thing to have all those things happen so you can really feel how it affects you, how it affects your body, how it's affecting your mind, how it affects you internally and externally. Because the funny thing is that that's really what stores your pain. You blocking your emotions, but we'll get to that in another video. The next thing I do, and need to do more of, honestly, is journal. Just in case you have a hard time expressing yourself, or you may not have someone to express yourself to, or you just don't really know how to say what you're feeling, one of the best ways I discovered is to just get it out of your head and get it on the paper. I like to think about journal as a vault, a place where I can take those thoughts out of my head and kind of store them in this place for safekeeping until I need access to them again, if I need access to them again. Of course, the scene from Green Gods is just playing in my head now, but anyway, this has helped me in releasing these thoughts and these feelings so much. So if anything else, get it out of your head, get it on the paper. And finally, to really start moving yourself out of the dark period, you gotta take action. Start by doing something small. Do that one thing you've been putting off. One thing I've learned is that the universe responds to our actions. So if you are still, the universe will be still also. Make a small move. Just do something to get yourself going. Something as small as getting out of bed just enough to make the bed up, even if you're gonna lay right back down on it again, is a move. It's action. Take action, no matter how small. So sunflowers, before we conclude this video, there is one last thing I'd like to do with you guys. I want you to grab a piece of paper And I want you to take 30 seconds to write down all the negative thoughts that come to your mind. You can take less than 30 seconds, but it's best you don't go over 30 seconds. So I'll put the timer on the screen. I'll see you in a minute. Hey. Now, I want you to take the paper that you just wrote on, and I want you to turn the words away from you. And I want you to say this phrase out loud. This is not my truth. I am so much more than words on a piece of paper. This is not my truth. I am so much more than words on a piece of paper. This is not my truth. I am so much more than words on a piece of paper. And you can repeat this as many times as you need to. If you're ready, I want you to take this paper and tear it up. Tear it up as small as you can get it, as tiny as you can get it, because these thoughts are so minuscule compared to who you truly are. Now, take a deep breath in. Take a slow breath out. Take another one in. One last time. So, how did that make you feel? Let me know in the comments below. Great, now I got paper all over the floor. Thanks so much for joining me to discuss the dark period and how to find our light again. Use this exercise as many times as you want, as many times as you need to. And just remember, you are more than your thoughts. You are the light. Stay square, sunflowers. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.